Hey guys, it's a little late, but we attended Too Many Games in early October of 2021, and we wanted to talk about our experience there, as this is our gaming channel after all. If you don't know what Too Many Games is, it's basically an expo where a bunch of well-known YouTubers host panels and gamers come to buy rare games and gaming merch. There are also gaming competitions and massive opportunities to meet and network with folks. We managed to secure press passes this year, which means we got in for free in exchange for covering the event. We already uploaded quite a few panels and special moments from Too Many Games here on the channel, so if you want to see any of that stuff, or even the panels in full, we got you covered. But before we talk about our amazing 3-day adventure, I'd like to talk about our live-action anime-inspired series we just recently released. My Neck is a 6-episode comedy series on Prime Video. It's an original story that follows 3 main characters in the world of neck slapping. It's kinda like a comedy martial arts movie that parodies elements of anime to give the show a weird but unique style. If you've seen Kung Fu Hustle or Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, it's essentially the low-budget indie version of those movies. By buying it on Amazon, you help support our channel and our creative endeavors, which allows us to bring you more videos like this and other ones. You can check out the trailer over on our second channel, RLGlitch Entertainment, or follow the link directly in the description to watch the show for yourself. We think fans of shonen anime and video games will highly enjoy it. In fact, everyone who has seen it thus far has told us it's very good. So check it out if you like anime, live-action films, or just fun and silly comedy. It's got a little something for everyone, but for now, let's get into the video.
Hey guys, we are currently on our way to Too Many Games. We are on top of a hill right now, and it looks like some Silent Hill stuff going on. It's looking pretty crazy out. But yeah, we'll be at Too Many Games very soon. Actually, in like 5 hours. Yeah, about 5 hours or so. And yeah, we'll see you there, I guess. Hopefully we make it there safely. Peace. We're one fucking minute away. We're 1 fucking minute away. Whoa! We're coming up on the thing. This is taking us through some like back alley thing here down in PA. They get down with red roads. Look at that. Those are red paved roads. We're here. We made it. We're at Too Many Games. Well, the day before. So technically it's not Too Many Games. It's just an expo hall. But look. There's people. One of them have to be like a famous person, like a famous YouTuber. Guys, we're in Too Many Games before it's even going on. Dude. Look at this place. Tomorrow there's gonna be people running all over. Oh shit. Oh, okay, we're grabbing our tickets now. We just came back from the place of getting tickets, and look, oh my god, we got tickets. Look at that. Oh my god, look at that. Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
So the first day at Too Many Games was overwhelming. Incredible, but also overwhelming. In terms of events, I think Friday was the day that they had the most big events happening back to back. At least the ones we were most interested in attending. Luckily, we got there the day before and were able to get a good night's sleep. To my surprise, there were not that many people there on Friday. I think a large portion of it was because it was still a weekday, but also because of COVID. Thankfully, everyone was required to wear a mask, and about 95% of the people there did exactly that. Most people were respectful about personal space and cleanliness. There were 2 main areas that people got to freely explore. First, there was the gaming space, where you could literally sit down and play all sorts of video games. From the Nickelodeon Smash Bros. Clone, to Guitar Hero, to even all types of retro games. It was honestly a gamer's wet dream. They even had arcade games available to play. With the big enforcer on masks and COVID safety this year, I was kinda surprised that there wasn't staff going around and wiping down the gaming stations since anyone was free to pick up and play the games that were there. It was mostly fine though, as the game spaces were spread out enough to allow for personal space. The other main area was the vendor hall. There's so much cool stuff, especially Sonic the Hedgehog merch. Next year I'll remember to spend the first day buying stuff because there were so many cool things that I wanted to get, only to find them gone the next day. But that's probably a good thing because I wouldn't have had money to eat for the rest of the week had I been able to buy all the stuff that I wanted to get. There were games upon games, posters, pixel pals, plushies, custom artwork. If it related to a video game in any way, it probably existed at this convention. It was also a collector's wet dream because they had pretty much every video game related product you can think of, including rare games and merch. Some things were actually reasonably priced, whereas others were not. Since the vendors hall was essentially the main hub of the convention, that's where the majority of people congregated. The later days would eventually get more packed, but the first day was pretty calm and allowed us to photograph a large portion of what each vendor was offering. Aside from the vendors, there was of course cosplayers. The first day we were pretty overwhelmed and I was a bit nervous about approaching people just because it was our first convention back since COVID. So approaching people after a global pandemic seemed a lot more awkward than I remembered. Honestly, being at the convention had me feeling like I had been locked down in solitary confinement for the past year, only to finally be able to interact with humans again. So yeah, the first day felt very awkward for us, but we eventually got warmed up and shot some really awesome footage of everything. The first panel we attended on Friday was the panel for Pat the NES Punk. I remember being exposed to Pat during the Angry Video Game Nerds Nintendo World Championship episode. After that I followed Pat's content for a while and was really excited for his panel. The only problem is that it overlapped with the Angry Video Game Nerds panel, so we recorded a portion of Pat's panel and he even acknowledged us a handful of times, which is really amazing.
Well, welcome here. Nice to have you back. We're starting off strong here. Hi, I'm being filmed. What YouTube channel is this going on?
Real Life Glitch Gaming.
Real life, what is it?
Real Life Glitch Gaming.
Real Life Glitch Gaming. There
Got it.
Check out me being embarrassed on Real Life Glitch Gaming. It's going to be an MST3K running commentary how awful this panel is. That's what it's going to be. People adjust. If people can live in the Arctic, they can adjust to the cold. They'll live in the Arctic. It's North Pole, right? I confuse that. Is there any people in the Arctic? There's like scientists in the Arctic. A lot of science. Aren't you glad you're capturing this for the Real Life Glitch Gaming channel? This is what people are going to be seeing.
I want to hear him talk more and answer questions, but the majority of his panel, while we were there, was just the audience watching his YouTube videos with him. Also, I don't think he liked us very much after that panel because we had to leave early if we wanted to catch the AVGN panel. So, during his showing of a video, I got up and apologized for us leaving and asked if we could interview him later, and he did not look happy at all. He looked extremely annoyed with us and told us we'll see. Luckily I did get a little interview with him that Sunday, but when I approached him, I think he recognized me because he had the same annoyed look on his face and was kinda rude about it. But I guess I'd feel some type of way if someone left my panel to go see someone else's. Anyways, here's that interview.
Having a great time. It's great to see people out here enjoying things, being safe of course, but having fun, playing games, talking about games, enjoying the culture of retro games. I'm selling certain NES Super Nintendo guidebooks as well as my DVDs, not for resale. I'm shilling right now. But no, it's great to see the people that support your work for so many years. Great to see them again and come on out. And I hope this trend continues of opening things up and having fun again.
What have you been most excited for? What has been your favorite moment about the con so far?
Favorite moment about con is just seeing people out and about and enjoying things. It's a celebration of video games and the culture of games and then gaming, and that's what it's all about when you do these events.
Can we expect to see any more Pat the NES Punk episodes?
There will be future Pat the NES Punk episodes. Not as many as they used to be, but stay tuned. There will be something.
And can you talk just a little bit about the future, about things going forward?
Future projects for Pat include maybe a certain N64 guidebook in 2022. And there'll be other stuff I can't really speak about right now, but the podcast is still going strong. And I'm always dipping my fingers into all these little pies or whatever. That's the wrong analogy, but I'm keeping busy. So just stay tuned. I'm on Twitch every Wednesday at Country Code, CU Podcast, and I'll keep doing this till I'm dead.
The next panel was for the Angry Video Game Nerd. By the time we left Pat's panel and got to the main stage where the Angry Video Game Nerds panel was happening, the line was pretty massive. It wrapped all around the gaming part of the convention hall. It was the most amount of people I had seen that entire Friday. By the time we got in, there was virtually no areas to sit or stand, but I was determined to get to the front. So I pushed my way up to the front row with my camera and stood there, and no one said anything. Unfortunately, I picked a bad spot because even though I was in the front row, I was shimmied behind one of the display stands, which cut off Kieran the entire show. Also, James and Justin look a lot further than they actually were from me. Not a bad spot, but it was mostly fine. James showed up late to his panel, but came in like a whole superstar. It was pretty epic though. Seeing one of my biggest inspirations of all time arrive like a badass was pretty cool. The panel itself though wasn't the greatest. First off, it was basically Kieran's panel because he talked most of the whole time. Now I like Kieran. In fact, I seen him all throughout the expo and even had like an 8-minute conversation with him. He's actually a really awesome dude. He seems super down to earth and like he'd be a fun person to hang out or work with. However, this panel was about James and the Cinemassacre brand, so I wanted to hear more about that and more interaction with James and his fans. But Kieran talked and talked and talked. I was half expecting James or Justin to say something, but they never did. There was a Q&A section, but they answered like 5 questions out of a room of hundreds of people. Since this was the first personal interaction James had with his fans since COVID, I expected him to answer lots of questions, but to be honest, I think James spoke the least. It honestly felt like a live Cinemassacre podcast. It was cool, but I wanted to hear more from James since it was his panel after all. Some interesting things got talked about, but it was one of the weaker panels at TooManyGames this year. The next panel we attended was How to Be a YouTuber with Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critic, and the Cinema Snob. Their panel was a lot more engaging and interactive than the other two. They talked, answered questions, and the whole atmosphere was pretty chill. It was fun seeing the Nostalgia Critic's bright and upbeat personality in contrast with the snarky, monotone Cinema Snob. Doug is also someone I'd love to collaborate with. He just seems so happy to be there and his enthusiastic energy just seemed to make people excited and happy to see him. After the panel, I got a picture with him and spoke super briefly about something I already forgot. But he's another YouTuber I used to follow a lot back in the early days of the platform, so it was also an honor meeting him for the first time and even taking a photo together. After, we left for the vendors hall to go to the Scott the Woz signing. They might have been preparing it because no one was over at the signing area, so me and KT walked around for a bit. And then it happened. A kid with glasses and brown hair entered the area. Immediately I knew who it was, so we trailed him. It had to be Scott the Woz, and I had my doubts, but then someone yelled his name and people started swarming him. He was signing things and had a mini line going. It was kind of like the signing before the actual signing. I'm not gonna lie though, I was absolutely starstruck. When I finally approached him, I kind of embarrassed myself by asking about his height, because he looked short like me in his videos. And we also thought we had seen him at McDonald's earlier that day. Turns out it wasn't him. After chatting with him for a brief minute, we snapped a picture and he went on his merry way. Until I remembered that I wanted him to sign a copy of a misspelled game case, and so Scott did and we chatted again for a brief minute. You can tell Scott felt weird and nervous and probably overwhelmed, and it didn't help that he had my weird awkward ass following him around. But he was super cool about it. I also wanted to get a picture with his friends and have them sign the game I brought, but the line for his signing was massive by the time it was up and prepared for people to line up. Luckily the next day I ran into his friends and even had a conversation with them and took this fun little video.
Hey all.
Oh!
Count us down.
Count to 3.
I thought you said hey.
1, 2, 3. Hey all, friends here. Cool, thank you so much, guys. You too.
They were super awesome and reminded me of my own friends. I had KT record our initial interaction, but I forgot to turn on the audio. So now there's just this silent video of me chatting with Scott's homies. Shortly after on that Saturday, we ran into Scott again and I managed to get a video with him this time. I was sure he hated me or thought I was weird for constantly running into him, but a few weeks after the convention, Scott actually uploaded a collage of folks he met at the convention over on his Twitter. I found myself in there not once, but twice. Once with Scott himself and another time with his friends. He even had our Twitter handle posted on the photo, so that was one story that came full circle. Anyways, after me and KT decided not to wait in line, we attended the Twisted concert that was happening in the main hall. It was pretty good, but the crowd they brought in were a questionable bunch. It was a bunch of beefy white men trying to throw down. We got some footage, but I went to the back when they started throwing water and moshing. I wanted to join the moshing, but I'm sure their crowd draw had COVID anyway. Day 2 was slightly more tamed, but there was a shit ton more people. There wasn't as many crucial events we wanted to attend, so most of the day was spent wandering around and getting cool shots of cosplayers, vendors, and the video games. While there wasn't as many big events on Saturday, there were still a handful of ones we wanted to cover. The first one was the Scott the Woz panel. This was easily the most fun and biggest panel at TooManyGames. The most amount of people showed up to this event, and it was the most interactive one. Scott revealed that reruns of his show would be coming to television, which is how you should start any panel, with some kind of big announcement. Afterwards, Scott jumped right into the Q&A, which was also a game show. If your question met a certain criteria, then you had to play a game. If you won the game, you got a prize, and if you lost the game, you got your question answered. So it was a win-win for whoever got a chance to ask Scott a question. The audience was basically a live YouTube comment section. Everyone asked questions with obscure references to his videos, and it really went to show how big of a loyal following Scott had just by the sheer joy and excitement that was in the room that day. Not to mention, before the panel, when they were doing mic check, his audience was cheering anytime someone came onto the stage to do prep work before the panel. And when Justin Silverman did mic check, Scott's audience went wild, which was absolutely hilarious, but it also indicated the type of fan base Scott has, which is a very silly but supportive one.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check.
Scott actually filled the main hall more than anyone else that weekend and definitely had the most exchange with his audience. I was hoping Scott was going to call on me since I raised my hand every time he looked for a question, but he didn't. I wanted to ask him what his top 3 Ten Commandments were based on his top 10 Commandments video. Maybe one day I'll get my answer though. Later that night was the Rex Viper concert. It was wild. Rex Viper is James Ralph's new band that formed during quarantine. Essentially, Rex Viper was formed by a bunch of guys playing covers online as sort of a mashup video. You've seen them all on YouTube where folks will play a song with other people who live far away and then edit a video so it seems like they're all playing a song together. Rex Viper's lineup consisted of folks who lived all over the place. I believe the lead singer wasn't even from the United States. Apparently they only practiced once, maybe twice in real life, just before the actual show at TooManyGames. From the videos I've posted, I've been seeing Rex Viper get a lot of bad reception, but being there, at the venue in real life, was a completely different experience. While they weren't perfect, they definitely put on one hell of a show. The lead singer was the highlight of the show. He was easily my favorite. Dude went nuts on stage, and the audience loved every second of it. James was also having the time of his life. His stage presence was very lively. I've seen so many bands perform that sound good, but are boring on stage, and vice versa. But Rex Viper was a decent combination of both. Again, this was their first live show after practicing maybe twice before the actual show. So with that in mind, I really enjoyed them. The video I have won't do their sound justice because of where I was during the concert. I was right up front near the subwoofer and guitar amp, so there isn't much balance in sound. I promise they sound much better in person. But with the angry video game nerd being one of my biggest inspirations of all time, it made me really happy to see how much of a great time James was having up on stage. You can really tell he was having the time of his life up there, so that was really meaningful to me. Oh yeah, there was also this kid who was James's biggest fan sitting right next to me. You can hear him screaming all throughout my video, and even see each time Rex Viper's members acknowledge him. At one point, James even gives him a fist bump because he's wearing a Rex Viper shirt. Also, in the process of that fist bump, this wild thing happened when I was pulling out my phone. The kid that he was actually trying to initially fist bump made so many references to James's videos while they were on stage, and while he was super annoying screaming next to me, it was really heartwarming to see the kid get acknowledged by his internet inspirations. I know it's something he'll never forget, and I'm really happy I got to capture it on tape. James even acknowledged the kid after the fact on his podcast, so you can tell it meant a lot to James to have such a younger fan appreciate his work. After the concert, Rex Viper had a signing, but we didn't stay for it since Boundary Break was having a panel and we wanted to cover it. We got there a little after the panel started, but managed to cover a majority of it. His panel was probably the second best panel at TooManyGames 2021 because it was basically a live Boundary Break episode. We broke Super Smash Bros. Melee and Mario Kart and overall had a great time. She Says answered questions along the way, and the whole atmosphere of breaking games together as a group was actually a lot of fun. His audience had a lot of funny jokes, It was a great time, and I would love to do something like that again. I feel like if you're going to do a panel with a live audience as a content creator, you need to be interactive with your audience or have a lot of relevant things to talk about, and this was a nice blend. Afterwards, we waited in line to talk with She Says and get photos. He signed my Chrono Trigger poster, and I talked to him a bit about content creation and such. He was a super kind and chill dude. Easily the most down-to-earth person I met there that weekend. Also, while we were waiting in line, we made some friends. One of them actually turned out to be someone from my city. After the panel, I came across Justin, Kieran, and Hack the Movies, along with their folks, and sat on the floor and chatted with them for a bit. If I hadn't been so nervous, I probably could have joined them at a bar or whatever social gathering they were doing that night. But I got a bit nervous, and that didn't end up happening, unfortunately. Maybe next year though. Later that night, I transferred footage and uploaded some of the Rex Viper footage, and James retweeted a video I uploaded of their performance. That made me extremely happy. Oh yeah, earlier that Saturday was the Frustrated Gamer, Beautiful OB, and Komodo Gaming panel. It was basically an overview on how to start and maintain a YouTube channel. It was certainly aimed towards younger kids, and maybe for people who have never had a YouTube channel before. I figured I'd get some use out of it, but it was super basic. Nonetheless, I covered it, so if you want to start your own YouTube channel, there might be something helpful in there for you. Sunday was the final day of the convention. The main attraction for that day was the AVGN signing. We spent the day recording more footage of the convention until it was time to finally meet the AVGN. The line for the signing wrapped all the way around the outside of the building. Unfortunately, it started to rain, so we put away our gear, but I did get some footage on my phone. We waited for probably about an hour and a half before meeting James Ralph. Unfortunately, he had a lot of people still waiting to meet him, so I only got to chat with him briefly. It was a magical moment. He signed my copy of the AVGN movie, then I talked to him about the fist bump at the Rex Viper show. He said he didn't remember me intercepting the fist bump, but vividly remembered the kid and later talked about him on the Cinemassacre podcast. Me and James took photos together, and I went on my merry way. I believe I picked up a few things from the vendors hall, but other than that, Sunday was the shortest day, and we left a little early to try and get home at a decent hour, since we were roughly about 6 hours away from the venue. In all, TooManyGames was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I met a lot of YouTubers that I grew up watching, and overall just had a fantastic time seeing and meeting a lot of different folks. We got to cover the event, so being up front of all the action really took me to a whole other world. We got a lot of great footage, and I got to see and experience the people who inspire me today. Part of me wishes we didn't have to wear masks at the convention, because after the fact, I found out some other people that I follow on Twitter and YouTube were there, and seeing their faces would have made it much easier to spot them. But I'm kinda glad that the convention was more about putting the safety of folks first. Funny enough, with that said, I did end up getting sick the last day and had a cold that following week. I thought it was COVID since the symptoms were very similar back to when I had it around Easter time of 2021, but it turned out to be a mere cold. I also met a ton of cool people that I'll try to include in the description of the video, and if you find yourself in the video or know anyone in the video, post a comment and I'll include them in as well. I definitely hope to go back next year and meet more amazing people if life permits it. But in all, this was a fantastic experience and I couldn't have been happier with the birthday weekend. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to comment and subscribe if you want to see more videos similar to this one. Also, don't forget to check out our live action anime inspired series if you'd like to support the channel, as watching it helps us make more content. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Went really well. I mean, we haven't had a show since 2019, and it's been awesome. You know, we did it in October this year instead of June, but I think turnout was crazy, especially on Saturday.
How would you say the Rex Viper show went?
The Rex Viper show went better than I thought it would. I was super nervous. I've never been, I'm not a trained singer and, doing concert stuff. So, I think it really worked out. Everyone was having a lot of fun up there. It wasn't a complete disaster. The crowd was really popping. It was really fun.
So going forward, what are the plans for Rex Viper?
We thought about doing some tours next year, small ones, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday in different cities and stuff, but we're not sure yet. Or we'd pair it up when we're at another convention. We would then go, bring, mix AVGN panels stuff, which is doing a show the next day, but we're not sure yet.
And can you tell us any future plans about AVGN and Cinemassacre in general?
Episode 200 is coming up soon, so we're getting ready for that once we're done Halloween. Our goal is to get monthly nerds out next year. Try not rushing them, making them all pretty good. We're still doing the podcast every Tuesday, video and as well as audio. And our goal is to do something else, make a movie or do something down the road. But right now we're gonna get caught up with everything we're working on. Once the band thing's going on, James is gonna release his book finally next year, his memoir kind of a thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Keeping it going.
For the podcast, will you do one episode where you all are on like psychedelic drugs, or at least get high through one single episode?
I mean, we do, sometimes we drink on or during the podcast or whatever, but I don't think we're going to be doing any psychedelic drugs, though sometimes it might seem like we're on them.
And any last words?
None.
None?
None. Thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for caring about what we do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, man.